So there's been an interesting amalgamation of misogyny on my FYP recently. On the one hand, Star Wars. On the other hand, Taylor Swift and football. And I have to say that the comments on this video are probably going to be insane, but here we go anyway. Because while I think that there is some gatekeeping involved with both of these, I don't think that that's necessarily where the outrage is coming from a misogynistic standpoint. And don't get me wrong, gatekeeping is a real problem and it's really happening in both of these instances. What I think is happening in both the case of Star Wars and Taylor Swift and football is that men's status as the acting subject is being threatened. Or at least that's how they perceive it. Because within misogynistic mindsets, women are only objects, they cannot be subjects. In the case of Star Wars, what Rey does as a character is asks the audience to kind of step into her shoes, to embody her. It's through her that we experience the sequel trilogy and the upcoming Grey movie. But within misogyny, that means that you're asking a man to step into the shoes of something that he only sees as an object, which obviously they can't do. And instead they see this other subjective agency as being a threat to their own subjective agency. And thus they react with outrage. And to be honest, I think that this is similar to what's happening with the Taylor Swift and Chiefs in football situation. Because the last few months with Taylor Swift and everything that's been happening, it's made me realize that competitive spectator sports like football, they encourage the same type of embodiment, or at least similar type of embodiment, that something like Star Wars does, particularly in a male-dominated sport like football. The male viewer is encouraged to project themselves and their subjective active agency onto the field. And thus they're able to vicariously experience this very masculine competitive sport. It's very male power fantasy when you think about it. And I think that this happens regardless of who the players are and what their own thoughts or beliefs about something like this may be. Now enter Taylor Swift. Here we have the most successful singer, songwriter, recording artist of our time at least, if not ever, whose net worth exceeds $1 billion, whose status as an acting subject cannot be disputed, and whose success, popularity, and net worth vastly exceed any individual football player. And suddenly, men's status as acting, thinking subject is threatened, even though she's only shown for like 30 seconds a game. Now, one of these women is fictional, but in both cases, neither of these women can be reduced to object, despite some people's best efforts. And for this reason, we get the outrage that we've seen in both of Star Wars and Taylor Swift and football.